So for our next lesson, I'm going to start on guitar chords. This is where a lot of people give up on guitar at. They don't want to take the time to learn it because they find chords to be complicated. So I'm going to spend a lot of time with chords over the next few lessons. This will be an introduction. I'll give you a few chords so you can learn how to play them, and we will go from there. So the first chord I want to start with is probably the easiest one to play, and that's called E minor. So what we're going to do for E minor is we are going to take our second finger and put it on the second fret on the A string. We are next going to take our first finger and put it on the second fret on the D string. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play each string individually. And now when we play them all together, that is an E minor chord. The next chord that we're going to look at is D major. So the first note on this string is the open D. The second note is on the G string on the second fret, followed by the B string. We're going to play the third fret, and we are going to play the E string, and we're going to play the second fret. So our first finger is going to be on the G string. Our second finger is going to be on the high E string, and our third finger is going to be on the B string. So playing each note individually, it'll sound like this. And if we play them all together, we've got D major. The last chord that we're going to look at for this lesson is A major. So how we're going to start this chord out is we're going to play the A string open, so that's our fifth string. Our first finger is going to be on the second fret on the D string. Our second finger is going to be on the second fret on the G string. And then our third finger is going to be on the second fret on the B string. And E is played open. So that, with all those notes played individually, it's going to sound like this. And all together, they should sound like this. So now that you know how to play each chord, I want to show you what they're going to look like on a guitar tab, and then what they will look like on a guitar chord chart. First I'm going to start with guitar tabs, since we've already been through a lesson to explain those. And next I'm going to move on to how to read a guitar chord chart. So what you see here is how an E minor chord would be represented on a guitar tab. So what it's telling you is that the low E is played open, that you need to play the second fret on the A string, the second fret on the D string, and we're playing the bottom three strings open. Now, as I mentioned in my last guitar tab video, is that as you notice, it doesn't tell you what finger to use. So what you're looking at here is a guitar tab of the D major chord. Notice the X's I've added on the A and E string. These have simply been added to represent these strings are not played. And the majority of time when you're reading guitar tabs, these won't be here. These will just be left blank, and it'll look something like this. This is what you'll see on most guitar tabs. I've added the X's to illustrate the chord better for yourself. As I mentioned previously when I was showing you how to play it, use your first finger on the G string, use your third finger on the B string, and use your second finger on the E string to play this chord. So now we're looking at the A major chord. Again, as you can see, I've added an X onto the E string because this string is not played. We use our first finger on the D string to play the 2nd fret, our 2nd finger on the G string to play the 2nd fret, and our 3rd finger on the B string to play the 2nd fret. So now that you know how to read a guitar chord on a guitar tab, the next thing I want to show you is how to read it on a guitar chord chart. What I like about chord charts is you can go to any music store that sells posters, and usually you can find a poster that just has over 100 guitar chords on them. Granted, you're not going to use all 100 of those, but if you ever have a room, say a music room, or you're in a jam space, you can always put one of these up, and they can be quite useful at times. So a guitar chord chart is a representation of the guitar's neck. As you can see on the far left side here, I've got the frets, and on the top I've got the names of each string. So on the very first vertical line from the left, that's going to represent the low E string, while going to the right, which would be the 6th vertical line, I've got the high E string. Now each box, again, it represents the fretboard, so each of those boxes you see going horizontally is a fret. Now what you're going to do, and what I'm going to do and show you when I get each of these chords going in the next part of this video, is you'll see dots placed on each of the lines at each fret. This represents what note you should be playing, and I will also show you what finger you should be using. So what you're looking at here is the E minor chord chart. As you can see, I've placed an O above the low E string on the left hand side. So what this represents is that string is played open. Now the 2 that I've placed on the 2nd fret, what that represents is the 2nd finger, unlike in a guitar tab where that might represent the 2nd fret. In this case it is the 2nd fret still, but we're using our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret. The 1, as you can see, is on the D string, and what that 1 represents is use your 1st finger, which is your index finger, to play the 2nd fret. And as you can see, there are O's above the other 3 strings, so this represents that you play those open. Here's a representation of the D major. Again, those X's above the E and the A string represent those 2 strings aren't played. And our numbers, they represent our fingers. And last but not least, we have our A major chord. So that's all I want to mention about chords in this lesson. There will be more lessons on chords going forward. I'll get into things like how to play them properly. I'm sure a few of you have probably tried playing these and noticed you might be muting strings or not getting sound out of a certain string. I'll go over that and how to solve those problems. But until then, keep on practicing.